Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming, and in this video we're going to begin work on the EmployeeController.cs file. So I'm just going to get right to it. As you can see right now, not a whole heck of a lot in there. Alright, but we're going to start putting things in. Now this controller is going to handle all of our HTTP or Hypertext Transfer Protocol requests that are related to employee management. So in other words, it's going to have the most of the logic that we had in the FRM Employee Manager form that we worked with before. It's going to follow the standard MVC pattern. All right. It'll delegate the business logic to the employee service, and it'll use view models, which we've started writing already, to pass data between the controller and the view. All right, so this is going to support the hourly employee, the piece worker employee, the commission employee, and the salaried employee. All right, now by default we get just this one using statement at the top, but I'm going to add a few other ones. Using PayrollASPNET-models, using PayrollASPNET-services. Now they're gray because we're not using them yet, and using PayrollASP.NET.view models. So we're going to use all three of those in there. All right. Okay. So again, there it is. It's the employee controller, and it inherits from controller. All right, so let's just get to it here. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to say private read-only employee service underscore service. Again, we can call that anything we want. Okay. Right now it's giving me an error, so let's see if we can figure out why. A namespace, oh, I'll tell you why. Because you have to put it in here. There we go. All right, and it's giving us the green underline because, of course, we're not using it yet. This employee service is going to be used by ASP.NET's core built-in stuff. It's going to encapsulate, or it's going to enclose all data access and all business logic for employees. It'll keep the controller what's known as a thin controller, and it'll be focused on HTTP concerns only. All right, so that's the first thing. Next, well, why don't we create a constructor here? So public, I guess we have, no, we don't have one. Employee controller and this will be an employee service underscore or service, and as you can see, underscore service equals service. What that's going to do, ASP.NET Core is going to resolve the employee service thing automatically from this service container. All right, we registered this already in our program.cs file. All right. Next, we've got right now public iAction result index. And this right now, as we start, this is going to be our get, or in other words, kind of our list. So for CRUD, we'll say list or read. All right, because what we're going to have to do in here is we're going to need to, for lack of better words, add all of these. All right. Now, this should display a list of all employees filtered by type. All right. So we're going to have in here public iAction index, as you see right now, but we are going to pass into here a type. All right. And the reason that we're passing that in like that is just to ward off the possibility that that is null. All right. So the first thing we want to do is we want to retrieve the full employee list from the service layer. So var employees equals underscore service dot get all employees. We did something very similar to this, if not exactly this, in the last version of this. All right. If a type filter is supplied in the query string, then we want to narrow the list by comparing, hourly employee or whatever it is, whatever kind it is. All right. So we want to do this. So we'll say here, if not string dot is null or empty, type, get that out of there, employees equal employees, and we're going to siphon this down, dot where e dot get type dot name dot starts with type string comparison, everything that's in there. How's that? Move this over a tad and we'll go over what this means in just a second. Let's put this on another line so hopefully it'll be a little easier to read. And finally a dot to list. All right. So again, if we did supply a type filter, we want to narrow the list by comparing, what did we put in there, hourly, etc. All right. This needs to have a paren here, I believe. Where is that? Employees where, yeah, this is screwed up. Let me fix this. E where E all right, almost there. Where E I think we need another paren here now. There we go. So what we're saying here is go through and see if we have provided a type up here. If we have, we don't care about the case, but we want you to list. If we haven't provided a type, just list everything. All right. So that's the first thing we want to do here. And again, this is very similar to the logic we had in the last version of this. Now we want to pass any active filter label to the view via the view bag. That way the user interface is going to be able to display which filter is currently applied. It'll default to all. All right, but we're going to say here view bag dot filter type equals the type or all. So again, if we have a filter type, pass it, otherwise all. All right. Okay, so there's basically what we have in there for our get or read. Next, we will need our create. All right. So again, we're going to have another public iAction result, and this will say create paren, and now we're going to put our create stuff in here. We're getting that error because we're not returning anything. Here where we return the view, we want to return view employee. All right. All right. So this should render a blank create a new employee form. First thing we want to do is pass an empty view model so the view has a strongly typed model it's going to be able to bind against. All right. Even before we've had any kind of input. Okay. So return view new create employee VM review model. Okay. Now we also basically that's going to be used for our get. But we're going to need a post also. And that post will handle the form submission for creating a new employee. It'll validate what we've been working on, map it to the correct employee subclass, make sure it persists in the database, and then redirect to our index if it's been successful. So this is the first time we're going to use here HTTP post. And again, we're going to have in here, I'm going to put something in here and I'll explain it, but I'm probably not going to do a great job of explaining it. Validate anti-forgery token. This will prevent what's called cross-site request forgery. To keep it as simple as possible, It's a way to try to keep people from doing bad things, so to speak, and trying to hijack what you're working on. All right, and this will be more important when we put this thing out on the internet later. So, public action result, create all right, and we can call this whatever we want. Let's just call it VM instead of new employee VM. That's too much stuff to type. All right, now again, we're getting an error right now because we're not passing anything back yet. All right. We want to validate the type-specific fields. This is something we haven't written yet, so probably going to get an error when I write this. And if any validation errors are added, all right, we want to re-render the form so the user can correct it. So if you screwed up, we're going to give you a chance to try to fix it. So if not model state dot is valid, meaning there was an error in here, we just want to return view VM. Now again, we're getting that error in here right now because we have not yet written that. I think what I'll do, at least for now, just so we can get rid of that error, is I'll put in here public. Oops, that was interesting. Get that out of here. I'm just going to write for now public void validate. Wait, I don't know what's going on here. It's going to give me an error until I fix it. I'll fix it right away. There. Okay, so right now that got rid of most of our errors, and this one is we still have this. Not all code paths return a value. Well, we're not done yet. Okay. Now, this is going to be kind of long. We did this kind of thing before. We're going to use a switch statement here to create the correct employee subclass based on the type of user selected. All right. Each branch is going to delegate to the service, and the service is going to handle the ID assignment and any additional business rules that have to be done. All right. We're also going to make sure that when we do this, we're going to round to 2 decimal places. All right. And we talked about this last time as well. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say employee, just call it emp, equals vm.employee type switch. Hourly. All right, doesn't like a couple things here, so let's fix those. Leave a comma there. Okay. One thing I do need here. And here. Not sure why I'm getting those errors. Decimal does not contain a definition for value and no accessible. Okay, am I missing something? I didn't think so, but we'll check right now. Where am I for time? All right, I'm at 22 minutes, so I'm going to fix this, and I'm going to come back in, as you might guess. We're going to also need to put in here and here will be, again, VM.firstname, VM.lastname. Oops, I did a math dot wrong there. Okay, like I said, I'll have to figure out what the problem is with those, but we will. All right, I'll have it in the next one. Let's just finish these off, though. So next will be the commission. I don't know if I need that dot value. It's something where I looked at it before online, and that's what they suggested to use. Finally. the equivalent of a default should never be reached. In other words, this branch should never be reached if the view contains the employee type. All right. So otherwise, basically what we're going to put in here is the discard value. And we'll just say throw new invalid operation exception, and we'll put in here unknown employee type. Okay, whoops. All right. I want to finish this up. There's not much in here yet, so. All right. Now we want to make sure we persist the newly created employee through the service layer. So our employee. And we want to store a success message that survives the redirect. So yeah. Finally, we want to be able to redirect to the list view because we want to show what we have in there now. So return. Nice to spell return right, wouldn't it? And that should be it. All right, so I'm getting some errors yet in here, and I'm going to have to figure out what these are. All right, and you can see I'm already at 30 minutes, so I'm going to stop right now and pick it up in a little bit. See you then.